betrayed him. He still pictures her as you were part of
the pimp. I call him the pimp.
It's in a book that can be stolen, a book that can be cracked open in someone else. But Professor Tatuba does try to clarify when Malik goes back to the past.
Welcome back to the Key and Jay Booked Podcast. I'm your co-host Jay, along with my co-host Key, and today we are diving into Carrissa Broadbent.
Yes, the Serpent and the Wings of Night. Yes, sir. I'm so excited.
Yo, we after the book that we had with old girl Harper and DNF in that series, it was tough to kind of lock in. But you've read Serpent and the Wings of Night.
Yep.
I've always seen the book cover. They have it at my job inside the facility where I work at. They have all 3 books, I believe, and I keep seeing it. The kids talk about it, because they ask me, if you read Fourth Wing, then you would like Serpent to the Wings of Night. Serpent and the Wings of Night, yeah. So I'm just excited that we get to partake in this series. I had my trepidations, but the opening chapters, the prologue caught me.
Yes.
It just caught me, and this is my style of fantasy. This is what I like. Houses and quarters, castles, mythical creatures, magic.
Yep.
This is my type of... This is what I was missing. This is going to be a great series. I'm happy to be alongside my good co-host. But before we get into the book, how was your week?
My week was good. It was very, very busy. I got another busy week coming up, but idle minds make something. There's some kind of phrase about that, like you got to stay busy or, bad things, So I'm excited about having a busy week. It was busy. How was your week, Jay?
It was all right, man. We finished football, but we get right into basketball, and he made the basketball team yesterday. So
good for him.
He's excited. This is going to be his JV babasketball season. Starts December 5th. So more practice and more going to, after I come home from work, more going to get him.
I'm still
but
excited.
It's all good.
That's cool.
As long as he's active, man. As long as he's active, I'm gonna figure the schedule around that and work around that. But let's get into the book, man.
Yes,
I really want to dive into the book.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk about the prologue.
Okay, so in the prologue, we are introduced to the main character, which, we don't really know if she's the main character yet. This is just the prologue, so it's introducing the story. But 3 men, they have wings that are black and featherless with sharp pointed teeth, happen upon a small child among the debris of a crumbled home. The men are wearing uniforms of the Hiaj Nightborn King, and one of them tries to grab this child like she's just sitting in the rubble of a house, and he makes some comment like, man, I'm hungry, and so that basically gave us the information. I thought that, okay, these must be some kind of vampire or something. They're hungry. They see a child. They don't care how young it is. They're hungry. And as he reaches out to grab her, she bites him. She holds on, she bites him so hard that
Feisty.
she draws blood. And I just thought, if this is our FMC, when I was reading the prologue, I was like, I can't wait to read the book, because they say they don't even know how old she is. She's very, very small. She could be anywhere from 4 to 8 years old. And she recognized what they were. She knew what they were. She knew they were dangerous. She did not care. She still bit them. And there was just something very inspiring about that. We got a feisty FMC, and I like that. And just as they are about to eat her, when there is a man who arrives, he's the king. And the book says that he is not the strongest, he is not the fiercest, and he is not the wisest, but he is a king because he was blessed by Nyaxia. Jay, tell me if I'm pronouncing that correct or incorrectly. Okay, because Jay is doing the audiobook, I'm doing the ebook. So he has the pronunciation, I have the spelling.
Doing it right.
Yeah, okay. So this man was blessed by Nyaxia, who is a goddess, and he approaches the girl again, and she bites him. She bites him, and she does not let go. Even as he's like, hey, it's okay, she does not let go. And so he grabs her up, and he subdues her. He makes her fall asleep, but he makes a decision to take this human child back with him. And what I thought was interesting about the end of the prologue is it says years later, people will speculate why he would do this, because this one decision resulted in an entire empire being toppled. And of course, this is a weird situation. He's a vampire king. She's a human. The vampires hunt the human. They are the predator. She is the prey. So what made him see something in her that he was like, you know what? I want her to be my child. So yes, it was an absolutely explosive, fiery introduction to the story. We have this compassionate vampire king. We have this fierce human who doesn't care who she's around, does not care how she's outnumbered. She will fight. I was like, yes, I can't wait to actually get into the meat of the story. I was like, yes.
And one of the things that I did, like the vampires was talking crazy, like,
They
yo, you playing
was.
with the food, like we might as well just go ahead eat her up. You know what I mean? And then but the fact that she's feisty, she's not scared.
She's
She's
not
like,
scared.
I'm just gonna get eaten, but I'm gonna be, and she's covered in rubble.
Yep.
You know, she's trapped in rubble and she still has this fierce spirit about her. So maybe we'll find out, maybe that was part of the reason why can I say his name?
Of
Once again,
course.
Vincent, because they never said his
Vincent.
name, but
Yeah.
Vincent, the Vampire King, House of Night, right? If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken,
Yes.
King of the House of Night. Why he took, the FMC so early and why he was so passionate. So I can't wait to see what hopefully they can revisit this night and, he can explain to her why, and to us, because he'll be explaining to us why, he chose to let her live that night. But
Exactly.
chapter one
Yes.
opens up with the FMC. Just think about her. If y'all seen, what's that vampire thing with the old girl? She used to be in the black leather, and they had like 3 movies to the jump. Underworld, right? Remember how Underworld started? She's on top of like this gargoyle statue, and she's just talking. It's raining, and it's what the FMC is doing. She's on top. She's just talking about the night, and how that vampires feed on humans, but not tonight, not on my watch. So to my issue, to my not my issue, to my recollection, she's more like a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they open it up. And she sees this little boy and she's like, the boy is either stupid or the mother's stupid, basically. Or the boy is, I ain't gonna say stupid, but the boy is naive. And the mother might not be watching his child, and he doesn't understand the danger of being out here at night, especially at night. He's supposed to be tucked away in the house, you know what I'm saying, away from the vamps. And as she sees this vamp, who she's like, basically says, well, he's not going to get eaten, because she peep game with the vampire on the other side, right? And when he swoops down and she swoops down, he looks at her like not even noticing who she is, doesn't really have no recollection, which ultimately cost him his life, because as she used this, she subdues him, slashes him 2 to the wings, because his wings, right, thin, like almost like paper, but there are stronger vamps, which is the Rohan vamps. They have tougher skin, which is harder for her to cut through. And she knows, she even says it, I'm not the strongest, because obviously we know she's not a vampire, but she has to be the smartest person, right? So she has to be calculated in her techniques and her tactics, for her to take down a vampire, which she uses something called Davinth. It's a which kind of subdues the vampire just enough so where she can stick a knife right through the vessel of his heart. And like she say, vampire blood is black, but when she pierces his chest, she has to make sure she grips through and crushes his heart with them. And like she say, vampires fear death as well, right? For them to be mythical creatures, she just says like the fear of death is on his face, just like humans, right? And that's like one of the only things that they have in common. But as she kills this vampire, and the other humans are looking at her almost like a savior, but she looks at them like, puny humans, right? Even though she is human, she doesn't consider herself human, as she kind of scoffs at the humans that that's looking at her, and she's like, I'm not really like them, you know what I'm saying? Like she feel, to me it just seemed like she's stuck in between. I know I'm human, but I'm not human. I'm more vampire, like even without the powers, right? And she, what I have right here, she basically says she joined the vamps on her own. Well, let me go back. After she kills him and she gets away, she goes back into her quarters, right? And this is when she meets one of the funniest characters. She meets an old lady, and I can't remember the old lady's name right now, right? Alana. As she's coming through her window, right? Alana is like the old lady who knows her habits. After she kills the vamp, she goes back to the castle, jumps in the window, and her and Alana, who we find out later on is like her family, right? One of the people that, they got a weird relationship where they kind of cuss each other out and scoff at each other a lot. But we get to know that Alana's like an older woman who joined the House of Night under her own, tuition. She wasn't forced. She wasn't obligated to join. She joined for the adventure. She was in the neighborhood. She was in that area that was getting decimated, and she just decided to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and join the vamps, and kind of be like a blood vessel for them. So what did you think about chapter 1?
I really like chapter 1. I feel like, kind of like what you said, Araya, I didn't get the vibe that she she was disgusted by the humans in this chapter, but more like she was disgusted by their weakness as humans, because it was their weakness that caused them to be the prey for the predators, who were the vampires. And something else really interesting I found about this chapter is the reason why she was hunting vampires in this specific region was this region was supposed to be safe from vampires. There's certain lands in the House of Night because humans live with the vampires. Like they live together. As you can, like you mentioned, Alana or Elena, how do you pronounce her name?
Alana. It's Alana.
Alana is someone who voluntarily gives her body to the vampires to use so that they can drink her blood. Basically. So it's like the humans and the vampires do have a relationship where they cohabitate. They're not supposed to hurt the humans, though, although some vampires do. And in this region where Araya was, that is why she was hunting those vampires, because he wasn't even supposed to be there. And he was. This is a protected land. Like, he's not supposed to be there. And he was breaking the rules. So I found that very interesting. The fact that she lives with vampires, and yet she's a vampire killer. She was raised by Vincent, which we don't know his name yet, I don't believe, but we know that he is the vampire king who took her. And she's a human. So it kind of reminded me of Cruel Prince. I don't know if you've ever read that book. These humans are taken from their human land and taken to the Fae land. And the main characters feel the same way. It's like, we are not Fae, we are not fairies, but we also don't feel bonded to the humans because we haven't been there for a really long time. So Araya, it just seems like she's a little bit confused at this point, because she just, where does she belong? You know, I found that very, very interesting. I loved her relationship with Alana. I thought that they were hilarious. I thought that Alana was a very, very interesting character. No of the characters have been mentioned that voluntarily give their bodies to vampires. So I thought that was really, really neat. And it's just the fact that Araya is worried about Alana. Alana is worried about. So they have like a very, like you said, like they antagonize each other a little bit, but you can tell that they really, really love each other. And at the end of that chapter, Araya makes Alana promise her to leave, because she says the Kajari is coming up. We don't really know what the Kajari is yet, but somehow, some way, the Kajari means that Alana may be in danger staying amongst all these vampires. And she says, promise me that you'll leave. Alana agrees. Okay, fine, I'll leave. And Araya says, okay, and I will be okay as well. You will leave. And when the Kajari is over, we're going to meet again and you can give me this scarf, you know? And so that was kind of the promise that they made to each other. Like, okay, I'll leave. You're going to be okay. And we will see each other again. So that was, I think, basically the end of chapter 1.
All right. And then as we get into chapter 2, he learned that, let's get into some key learning points.
Yeah, of course.
Because, you know, it's fantasies. It's a lot to dive in when you're dealing with fantasy. So explain the 3 houses. You don't have to explain the detail of the houses, but what are the 3 houses thus far and what's happening with the 3 houses?
Okay, so there are 3 houses, okay? Vincent, who is the vampire king, he is the ruler of the House of Night. And there's 2 other houses, the House of Shadows, the House of Blood. All of these houses exist in this fiction reality, okay? Now, in the House of Night, specifically, there are 2 different types of vampires. There are the Hyaj vampires and the Rashan vampires. Now, both of these vampires, they're different. Jay mentioned this earlier. One of the differences, the thickness of their wings. You know, one vampire has thicker wings than the other, but they're both basically vampires. They have been beefing with each other for centuries. They do not like each other within, but they both exist, I believe, within this house. Now, in chapter 2, we get to know that there are 3 houses, but I don't really know yet at the end of chapter 2 and throughout chapter 2 how these houses work together. Do they not like each other? Do they got beef? The only beef that I really understood was the beef between the Hyaj and the Rashan vampires.
Exactly. And as we open up chapter 2, that was just a little subtle. I like that, Key. That was dope. That was dope. I can't even say that, but that was basically, we want y'all to keep up with us because the fantasy really dives deep.
It is.
And we need to make sure that everybody understand, you know, even though we be confused, you know, sometimes, but that's why you got both of us. This is what she opens up with. She starts talking about, the reason why I did that is because I wanted to basically, now that y'all know what Key just said about all the houses, this is how she opens up this chapter, talking about the different houses. She talk about the architects of the different cities. We find out, what is it, Siphanage? Siphanage is a city. House of Shadow is another city. So each of these cities are different ones, and that's how she opens it up, kind of detailing what each house looked like, what her house looks like, and what's the beauty and everything like that. And then we get a knock on the door, right? And we know it's Vincent. Vincent comes and he talks to her, and he's basically like, yo, are you ready? Like, you know, just kind of talk to her about the Kajari when he walks in, just being like, are you ready? And stuff like that. And then he seems worried. And like what I have here is like, she talks about, she's not his biological daughter, but she has his ruthlessness, and that he's worried about. We find out what the Kajari is. The Kajari is a tournament of death. We don't know what you get or why or anything. We just know that it's a tournament of death, and Vincent is worried. And her seeing that, he's worried. And also it's another house that is bothering him, right? He talks about a house. What house is that he feels like is almost like not upbringing? You might say it's what they call it, an upbringing. They kind of want to take over, and it's more mischief in all the houses. And he kind of mentioned it, but he kind of puts it to the side and like not have her worry about that because she has this tournament up, right?
Yep.
And she says in the same chapter is that he has what is it? Aster? I cannot get these terms. Asterisk, right? And that's a magic gift, a rare, pure energy gift from the stars, capable of killing at first strike, because he used it to level the Rashan rebels. And he basically takes her in their training. After he takes her out her room, they're in his room, the war room, as what I would say. They're in the war room training, and only his top soldiers can train in this area. So her being there, she's not a vampire. She is his daughter, but for her to have that type of G14 classified information, and for her to have that training, it just shows that Vincent saw something in her. And I cannot wait until we get into the story of Vincent. Hopefully, she can get it locked in with his story. And, he's teaching her to never trust, never yield, always trust, never have her blood out like too much, because there's a strong taste for vamps. And, if they wasn't, she always say like, if Vincent wasn't her pops, people will like very much indulge in her blood, because she must have some strong ass blood for them to be like, cause even when you find out in the party, when they go to the feast, he has her tight. So what did you think of, and there's some other stuff too, but we're going to talk about, but what did you think about chapter 2 thus far?
I like chapter 2. It was the introduction to us kind of understanding what the Kajari is, which is a competition that Araya is participating in. And so I'll just give like a brief explanation. It is a competition. It's put on once a century by the House of Night, which Vincent is the leader of. And it consists of 5 trials over the course of 4 months. And the winner gets a gift from Nyaxia, which is the goddess who created the vampires. So vampires from across the world are coming to the House of Night to participate. That's why Araya, as a human, is competing against the vampires to win, which makes sense why Vincent is so concerned about her. He keeps her under lock and key, living in this castle amongst all these vampires, because she is one human living in this huge castle, except for Alana. You know what I mean? Word. It's very dangerous for her to be just walking around. If a vampire is bloodthirsty, they will try to drink from her. And this part did confuse me a little bit, because it seems like some vampires are bad and feast on the humans in a way that kills them. And you see Alana, who, she is alive. The vampires feast on her. So I think Vincent is just worried about the vampires who have no decorum, who just go bloodthirsty and just go crazy. So that's why he's concerned about her in chapter 2 when they're talking about the Kajari. And that's why he's relentless in training her, because not only is she not a vampire, so she's not as strong, she's not as fast. You mentioned Vincent has Asterisk, and he has other magic that was gifted to some of the vampires from Nyaxia. Araya doesn't have that either. So all she has is the strength and the training that Vincent has like relentlessly drilled into her. So I really liked that brief training montage in this chapter. I thought that was really cool. And there was something about Vincent that really reminded me of Haymitch from the Hunger Games. You remember how Haymitch was mentoring Katniss and Peeta because he himself had won the Hunger Games? Vincent actually won the Kajari. What was it? 200 years ago? Exactly.
2,000 years ago.
2000, yeah, because he's really, really old. So he won it a long time ago. So he, not only is he the king now, he won the Kajari, but he is like giving her all the training that he can possibly like help her with, because he went through it himself. So I thought that was really interesting. And something else I found interesting was that Vincent is very, very in control of his thirst around Araya. I know that he looks at her as his daughter, but kind of like Edward in Twilight. Remember how being around Bella's blood was like
that Negro.
It drives him crazy, but he was still able to control himself. Vincent reminded me of Edward in those moments, because even though that's his daughter and he loves her, and He's never hurt her. He's still a vampire. Like, you know what I mean?
True
and his
story.
nature is to drink blood, but he's so in control that he will never hurt her. And I think Araya says that somewhere in the chapters. Like, he's never hurt her. He's always been supportive. So I just really like this in-depth look at their relationship. And they seem very, very close, very, very father and daughter, despite him being a vampire and being the predator and her being the human and the prey.
And also, before we leave this chapter, two things. We find out that Vincent has long black wings,
with
long
red
black
at the
wings
tips.
with the red at the tips, almost like the Crimson wings. They're like outlined in blood. Like he has the big ass wings.
Vampire.
Yeah, like he has the big ass wings. Right, blood.
You got the blood in the crypt. He's the blood.
So he is definitely like a big van. Like his wings is just like overly huge, and they touch the ground.
He's the king, of course.
And he's the king. So we have to look at Vincent like we got to give him his just due. Think about the black crimson wings with the blood outlining on his wings as well. And he also we find out that each heir also bores 2 marks, right? Each Vashon, each heir to the Vashon bore 2 marks from their previous heir after the heir dies, right? But his was on his clavicle. And he was like, sometimes you got to be careful. And it was just like nonchalant, like mine's, whatever it was, he was about to get. Like, why is his on his clavicle like that? You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else's was like that. So those are 2 things. No. And the last thing is the tournament can start at any moment. Like whenever she says it's go time, it's go time, meaning the trial can start whenever. So those was the last 2 things from chapter 2 before we move into chapter 3. Which chapter 3 starts as a feast. Think about you coming out. It's draft night. That's what this is. It's draft night. No, it's scout night. When you go to the combine in football and you go and you just scouting the competition, right? You're talking to other GMs, you mixing and mingling. That's what all the important meetings take place, all the important handshakes, phone calls and everything. Everybody's scouting each other. So think about it in that sense in sports when you're scouting the competition. This is what the feast is, hosted by Vincent. He has all the competition there, all the houses there, and he has his daughter on his arm and then sometimes by his side. And why is that, Key?
It's because he is parading her around a room full of vampires. And what I thought was so funny about this was the fact that he only came and got her after everybody had eaten. And it was interesting too. The vampires, they said that they actually enjoy human food, but they survive off of blood. And that can be the blood of humans, animals, or other vampires, which I thought was interesting because usually in vampire books, vampires don't drink each other's blood. Vampires don't usually even have blood. I thought, but I thought that was really interesting. But yes, he keeps her by his side because she's in a room full of hungry vampires. And he's like, I don't want anybody coming near my daughter. And like I said, he's a very protective dad. And I love that about him. Like he just seems to really love her, care about her, treasure her, protect her. And that was very evident in this chapter.
And as they go through the room, he's telling her about each individual house, and this person has this, and kind of going through each names and their power, not their powers, but their abilities, and letting him know their weaknesses, right? He's just letting her know, like, you be careful of this one. You watch out for this one. This one weakness is here. This one weakness is here. And they're having this conversation by themselves. So just picture a ballroom full of vamps. Some have their wings out, for formality. Some people don't have their wings out. And it's just this father and daughter kind of going through the whole crowd. And they're just talking to each other. Even in a crowded room, their conversation is in-house, right? And like you say, the fact that he kept them in there, and we see two people that they really talk about, right? They talk about Ibrahim, right? And we find out that poor Ibrahim, right? He was whipped on. Just think about a child that's being abused, right? To kind of just let you know, I'm the parent. We find out that vampires have to either kill or they beat their kids to a bloody pulp so that their kids won't grow up and overtake them, because to become the heir, you have to kill your siblings and or your parents, i.e. Vincent. Vincent was able to take over, we find out in this chapter, because he was able to
kill his parents and
his siblings. So think about Ibrahim, who I don't know if he's entering the tournament or not. I'm assuming he will be. He's entering it for respect and for more notoriety and
he gets a wish. Remember,
and he gets a wish.
if you win, you get a gift from Nyaxia. Now, we don't know yet what Araya wants to get. Like, we have no idea what her gift is going to be, although I suspected it's somehow going to be turned into a vampire or something, you know, because she's living amongst the vampires. That was my guess when they were like, oh, you get one wish. I was like, she's going to want to be a vampire. But yeah, Ibrahim, I thought that was so sad, Jay. Like, his parents jumped on him and yanked out his teeth, his vampire teeth, and then they crippled him so that he was too weak to ever overtake them before they were ready to give up the throne. And it made me think, okay, Araya is Vincent's daughter. Would that ever happen to them? Because he loves her in a way that I can't see him loving her and caring about her if he knew that she's going to grow up and have to kill him to get the throne. So I thought that was interesting. Like, that's his daughter. If she ever wants the throne, which we don't know what she wants at this point, but I thought that was interesting. I was like, is she going to end up like doing something to Vincent? You know?
You ever seen Biker Boys? You never seen Biker Boys? Then the analogy won't. But if y'all seen Biker Boys, y'all know what Lawrence Fishburne did at the end, where he gave up the title of King of Cali, even though he could have beat his son. But you see what he did at the end. A lot of people who watch Biker Boys will get that reference. But you was right, man. It's like Ibrahim is just toe up from the flow up, and I got a feeling that because he is entering the tournament, and we probably know he's not going to win, he's going to be one of those sad deaths, like the little black girl in Hunger Games.
You mean Rue? Oh my gosh, I cried. I cried when I read it in the book. I cried when I seen the movie.
I see the setup with Ibrahim already. We already feel bad because damn, like you've been fucked up your whole life by your parents, and now you got to go and you only going in this tournament for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, for, you know what I mean?
And so you're competing against not only vampires who ain't crippled, you know what I mean, but our girl Rhea ain't nobody to mess with either. You know what I mean? Right. And he's already at a disadvantage, like even more so than her. He got a crippled damn leg. You know what I mean? Like no one's gonna take him serious as a vampire without his vampire teeth, you know? Exactly. So he's probably doing it. I bet his wish is kill my parents.
Kill my parents, right? And give me all their power.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Right. And then we meet towards the end of this chapter, we meet Jasmine, who is the head of the guards, one of the only 3 women in 1,000 years.
Which I like that. I like
to basically,
but she's you know, suspicious.
Have this high prestige. We find out that she survived the stake. Right, so I guess they tried to take her out.
Yeah, she's got her whole everything out.
Basically, I put that she was just badass. You know, she's been in wars, but the only reason that she even entered that she got that general position was because the previous head guy got sick and he died, and that's when Jasmine, who was a general, took over. So we know that she. I ain't gonna say she got honor, but she didn't snake her way into the position.
Araya doesn't trust her though, and
but she doesn't trust her.
The fact that Jasmine, her predecessor he got sick and died is like, okay, how did he get sick? And then the fact that Araya seems to have really good instincts, and the fact that she doesn't like this woman, but you also have to see she doesn't like her because she doesn't trust her, and this is the head of her father's guard. She wants to make sure her father is protected. So this is just again just showing how close they are. Like they are very, very close, and I just love it because it's an anomaly. He's a vampire, she's a human, but he loves her down bad, and she loves him too. Like she is about protecting him. That's why she don't trust Jessamine, because she's like, I don't know you. I don't know where you came from. What happened to
Jessamine? I was saying Jasmine.
Well, her name is spelled Jesam, so I thought it was Jessamine. But I mean, you know, Jay, you listen to it.
Yeah, but in the book, I don't know, man. They be the book, the audio, like but they don't really know how to say our names.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gonna really go too far in that. But they sometimes don't know how to say our names. But that was kind of almost towards the end. And then what was she looking at? She was looking at this painting.
Well, she was looking at the painting. She came out of the hallway and she seen a red-haired, very handsome vampire staring at this painting of a Rashawn vampire falling with nothing to help him. And it was a surprise because the House of Night is now ran by the Hiaj vampires. Right. Like they don't want shit to do with the Rashawn, and yet there's this painting of the Rashawn vampire, and this guy is just staring at it. And before she can even really dive too deep into that, another girl comes and Vincent's like, yeah, bring your ass.
Right.
Where you think you're going? Get over here.
Summons his daughter and kind of get her out the way. And that's really the end of the chapter 3. And then as we get into the last chapter before we head out of here, Araya and Vincent, they're chilling in her chambers now. And I'm like, damn, like they're having a lot of moments with Araya, and Carissa's writing a lot of moments with Araya and Vincent. They chilling in her chambers. They talking about the competition. He's kind of reiterating everything from before. Be careful. Don't underestimate, you know what I'm saying, the people in the Kajari. Because when he was younger, and they talk about, she's like, well, when you was younger, was you nervous? And he like, yeah. At first he wasn't really saying he was nervous, but then he's like, yeah, I was nervous. You know what I'm saying? But I had to do what I had to do, right?
Yeah.
And he felt like he did it because he was like, let me go back. He was nervous, but he had to do it because it was like he felt like he was insignificant.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. And she wonders if like some human, before that, and then that's when I realized that when he said he was insignificant, I'm trying to figure like, but you killed your parents though, and you killed your siblings. So how did you feel insignificant? Like,
well, I think because when he entered the competition, he was just another Hiaj vampire. Like he wasn't the great Vincent. He was just Vincent.
Right.
People underestimated him. Maybe, and we don't know that much about Vincent's history. Maybe his house or his family just wasn't people that people was afraid of. So he's entering this competition. He's a little nervous. He's underestimated, but he does tell her, people will underestimate you, and that's okay. Yeah, I don't know if he says in this chapter, but yeah, use that because they underestimated me, and you see that he ended up, winning. We also found out in this chapter what she wanted. Jay,
yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Now, see, this was a little confusing, but not confusing because I had to rewind it. She wants to become Vincent. What is the word?
Coriaty?
Yeah, something. Yeah. But it's bonding him with her, making her a vampire, and gaining his powers, and saving Arixia. Is that Arixia? See these words, man. Listening to it, they don't give me the actual words. That's why I'm definitely going to dive into the book full time. But she basically wants to merge with her pops, not together merge, but have his powers as well, right? And obviously she's going to become, but I'm like, how can you have his powers and share his
I was
gift,
confused about that too. Plus, I was like, that seems a little incestuous. Like, because becoming his Coriace, or however you pronounce it,
and becoming a vamp.
And becoming a vamp, that means her soul would be bound to Vincent. I just couldn't understand why you would want to bound your soul to your father. Like binding souls, it sounds like mates. It sounds like lovers. And you know what I mean? Like I love my daddy very much, but binding my soul to his, absolutely not. That's just, and I had the question too, Jay, why not just wish to become a vampire? Why does she want to bind her soul to Vincent's? And I know that she's like, she says something like, I'll be a very, very powerful, no one's going to mess with me. But we haven't really seen anybody messing with her thus far. And I feel like if she just became like a regular vampire, like if that was her wish, no one would have a reason to mess with her. Like the vampires, we don't see them just beefing amongst each other. They beef because, hey, I'm Rashawn, I'm Hiaj, I'm Rashawn. But so when she was like, I'm just going to be the most powerful, no one's going to mess with me. I'm just like, but they mess with you now because you're a human. If you turn into a vampire, they would have no reason to mess with you. I'm just not understanding why it's needed for their souls to combine. But maybe we don't know enough yet. But that is her wish. And she also talks about, she says something about she'll be powerful enough to go look for her family. That's something that's stuck with her. I mean, she's a human living in the vampire lands. They found her in a bunch of rubble. She doesn't remember her family. She doesn't remember anything about them. All she has of her mother's is a ring or something, I believe. And Vincent actually describes kind of why he hadn't went to go find her family. Do you remember that part? Like what he said? So Vincent is king of vampires. Why could he not just go to where he found her and try to find her family? But what happened was when he found her, that was during an uprising. So it was something going on between the Rashawn and the Hiaj. So it was okay for him to go into their land and settle this dispute. They're not beefing. I mean, they are, but there's no uprising. There's no war. He doesn't have the permission to just go in there and start looking for her family because that would cause an uprising. Like, you're the Hiaj king. What the hell are you doing in the Rashawn lands? We don't fuck with you. So that's why he has never went back to go look for her family. That's what he says, at least. But yeah, that's what we basically learned.
And you was rolling. Chapter. That's why I didn't want to. That's why I was like, nah, keep going. You was rolling. I literally had, I can't go to that neighborhood, bro. It's up if I go over there. So you're going to have to go look for them people on your own. You know what I'm saying? When I was over there,
you put it in normal terms.
I was like, we was beefing at the time. You know what I'm saying? We was at war. I don't know who killed your peoples. I just found you. You feel me? But right. I don't just go to nobody else's neighborhood and they just try to run down on me. That's what I had. But,
exactly.
You was explaining this so eloquently. I didn't want to come in with my Nate.
No, you should have. You should have. What you said makes it so much more personal because that really was what it was. Now I can't go there because they gonna fuck me up.
You trying to set me up?
You trying to right? Like I can't. But
and as the night is winding down, they have this offering, right? I guess this is her way of entering the tournament. Just think of it,
you have to give
a blood sacrifice as you enter the tournament, and this is your way to kind of pray to the
Nyaxia.
Her name is gonna kill me this whole book. I'm sorry, y'all, but Nyaxia, and this is the way you enter the tournament. So Vincent is like, yo, it's like a father, like, damn, man, I really don't want you to go in here, but yo, be careful. They cutting her, be careful. And they kind of doing the sacrifice as he's talking to her, like, yo, relax yourself. Like, remember at any moment it could start. All right, let's pray. Here go your blood dripping into the bowl or chalice, whatever they got. And now let's pray to the God. And here's your into the tournament. They say their little prayer and boom, this is what he takes. And now we know that she's into the tournament. So as she's going to sleep, she wakes up. Stuff is going on. She don't know what the hell is happening. I thought she was dreaming at first
because she was
like the screams, right?
Exactly.
It seemed like it was just screams.
It was like she was remembering her childhood,
the night.
Yeah. And then she wakes up and she realized this ain't my bed. Where the fuck am I?
Where am I? Right? And she realizes it's on now.
It's on.
Just like that, the tournament is started. And I'm like, yo, what else can you ask for? Like, this is going to be nice. So basically she fell asleep, woke up, and the tournament is starting, boy.
Yep.
She ain't in her bed and there's boots on the ground now. You know what I'm saying? So now we locked in, right? And we're going to stop right here. You know what I'm saying? We're going to stop right here. We know y'all want more, right? But we just getting into the book.
This is part one. The book is separated into parts. This is the end of part one. So we got introduced to our FMC. We know her circumstances. We know what she wants out of this competition. We see that she's getting trained. We know the why. We know where she lives. We still got questions about her parentage. Is she ever going to find her parents? The emphasis on her and Vincent's souls combining as her wish to Nyaxia win, and if she wins the Kajari. We know what the Kajari is. We've met some of her friends. We see what she does in her off time. And I will say, fantasy is very, very confusing a lot of the times because it's the author building this world from scratch and we're not in their head. We don't always know what they mean. But this is one of the easiest fantasies that I've encountered to understand. Like, there was nothing really in this part one that I was just like, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand what's happening. I was following it all. And it's so exciting. Like, it's like, I know Twilight. Vampires is just my thing. Twilight.
And I'm being subtle
vampires,
right now.
Love it.
I'm being subtle because it's the beginning. But when the boom bang and the daggers start flying and people start getting off, it's gonna be a little bit more animated. I promise y'all, man.
Well, we just got started. This is the intro.
It's a long time. And guess what? We still got 3 more books?
3 more books. I can't wait.
2 or 3 more books. So listen, man, this is going to be a long ride, y'all. Take the ride with us. We have covered the prologue in the first chapter. Well, the first 4 chapters, which is, what is it called? What is the first part of it? First part of it actually
Part 1 is called Dusk.
Part 1 is called Dusk. So we just finished Dusk. Read along with us. Sound off in the comments. Let us know what we missed. Let us know something that we didn't discuss or whatever the case may be. And tap in with us. This is Carrissa Broadbent, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. We have just covered part 1. Anything you want to say to the people before we get up out of here, Key?
No, just make sure to follow us. We are going to be on Fable and we're going to be updating the chapters chapter by chapter if we have any notes. So definitely be sure to follow us on Fable. Participate. I love having like an online book club, and that's what our Fable is. Of course, continue to watch, like, comment, subscribe. Have you read this book? What do you think so far? We want to know everything that's in your head. We want and we need to know. So comment, like, subscribe. Thank you guys again for supporting us. We are so sorry that we had a DNF book. That doesn't usually happen, but we are so excited about The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Me and Jay, this is a reread for me. I'm falling back in love with it. He loves it. So I'm very, very excited about what's to come.
All right, y'all. Until next week, y'all. She's that reader. I'm just a speaker. Peace.